35-year-old Abdul Ezedi was convicted of a sexual offence back in 2018, and he was refused asylum twice before finally being granted leave to remain.
Well, he was last seen over 24 hours ago on the Caledonian Road in North London. Joining us now is Conservative MP for Lichfield, Sir Michael Fabricant. Good morning, Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning,
I'm just going to be quite frank with you, sir. Is this case and the circumstances surrounding it, the fact that he was denied asylum, only granted it after converting, quote-unquote, to Christianity and being allowed to stay after being convicted of a sexual offence, is that not a damning indictment on this Conservative government?
It's certainly an indictment, I think, on our immigration policy. You know, Labour and Conservative have been a little bit soft on occasion, I think, on asylum seekers. If you look at the United States, you can see how tough they can be for just ordinary visitors. I've got a constituent who, in his teens, got a minor conviction in the UK for smoking a joint in public. And he was then refused an immigration certificate to enter the United States. So I think we've got to be much, much firmer in saying, look, if somebody's got a conviction, not only should they not enter, don't forget he entered illegally in the first place, and secondly, they shouldn't be granted asylum, because I'm afraid, you know, this sort of thing, while rare, was unnecessary, don't you think?
And wouldn't you agree with your colleague on that point, Lee Anderson, who said if you have committed a crime here, then you should be sent back to your home country?
Well, I suppose it depends on which country you're being sent to. But don't forget, these illegal asylum seekers are being sent back or sent across from France and Belgium. So maybe we should send them back there. The trouble is the French and the Belgians won't have them. It really does depend where they've originated from. If they've come from a country where maybe they're facing the death penalty, we've got to think again about that.
Well, hang on, Michael. If you're escaping the death penalty from a country that you fled for whatever reason, and you come to Britain and commit crime, you know, even as bad as sexual offences, I don't care what's going to happen to you when you go back to your country. You've come here for solace and refuge.
You're saying they should be allowed in because they've come for solace and refuge?
No, they should be sent back. Are you saying, am I correct in saying they shouldn't be sent back depending on where they come from in case they face persecution or the death penalty? Is that what you're saying?
Not exactly. I think what I'm saying is that if they're going to be sent back to a country for the death penalty simply because of their beliefs, and look, we're talking about very few people in that category, then I think we would have to think twice. And it also depends on what they've done here. You're talking about general things, you know, if, of course, with acid in the face, it is a very, very serious crime.
Michael, do you not agree that they should have thought twice before committing serious crimes in this country, bearing in mind that, you know, if there was any deterrent, knowing they'd go back to...
The guy will be caught, he'll go to prison, or better still, we'll send him back and he can go to a prison in his own country. The question always arises, though, with death penalty, which is an extreme case. But we're not talking about that here. I don't know where this guy comes from. He certainly wasn't facing the death penalty in his own country. And in that instance, yes, of course he should be sent back. But we've got to make sure that when he is sent back, he languishes in prison for a long time.
What do you make of James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, ignoring journalists at his home this morning, remaining tight-lipped on this situation? We've had an email in from Graham, who says it just shows how ignorant James Cleverly is in the strength of disgust that we all have. He's had overnight to discuss with his colleagues some words to say. There's no excuse for ignoring us all.
Well, I have sympathy with anyone who's doorstepped, so I don't think that would be nice for anyone. But, yeah, I would have made a comment in that condition, and certainly I believe that, you know, it's most unfortunate, to say the least, that the guy was let into the country in the first place, and that, B, that we gave him asylum. There are so many well-meaning vicars out there and other do-gooders who actually do a great deal of harm unwittingly by letting this guy be an asylum seeker, and he shouldn't have been here in the first place.
And Michael, just before we let you go, I did want to ask your reaction to your colleague Mike Freer announcing that he is stepping down after the next general election for fears of his safety. He is the MP for Finchley and Golders Green.
Yeah, I think that's dreadfully sad. I mean, somebody said of him, you know, he is a Jew, I'm quoting here, a Jewish homosexual pig. He's not Jewish, by the way. A Jewish homosexual pig who has defiled the house of Allah. Look, this country is meant to be a tolerant country with English way of life and Welsh and Northern Ireland, Scottish way of life. And this doesn't mean that people can be bigoted like this. And I just simply say that whoever said this thing of, defiling the house of Allah should be ashamed of themselves. You know, there is a great Jewish tradition which says that when you go to a visit and stay in a country, you do as they do. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. If people don't want to have the tolerant British tradition, they shouldn't come here in the first place.
Conservative MP Michael Fabricant, thank you very much. I guess that's half the argument from some people, is it? We're too tolerant, we're too welcoming, and people take advantage. But
Well, do let us know what you think about that. gbviews@gbnews.com.